So Filipe Oliveira is from Madeira, and he's going to talk to us about the sustainable action plans and their impact on CO2 emissions. The floor is yours, Filipe.
So I will start to talk a little about the context of the islands concerning the energy planning. Of course, everybody knows that the islands are specific territories, have some constraints, but this has also an effect on energy planning. The islands have complex energy structures. It's not only the demand side that is important, the end use that is important. It is also important to have in mind the supply and the production of energy, because in many islands that don't have any connection to the mainland, for instance in Madeira, Açores, Canary Islands, and others, the islands have to be self-sufficient on electricity, and for the other islands they have to have enough storage of fuels to guarantee the supply in a good quality. And some of us have the experience that if it's bad weather and the ship cannot go to the harbor to supply the fuel, sometimes you go to the gas station and you don't have fuel. And this happens. In Madeira we had already this problem. Of course, very little, but we have. And it's possible to have in the future. And also concerning the energy planning, one of the big issues in islands is that we have to guarantee the supply. And to guarantee the supply is necessary to have some redundant infrastructures. And in some cases we only have one cable, if there is a cable. In the other islands there are no cable. And you have one harbor for fuels. So this is a very strong weakness. And of course in the islands we have higher costs. So when we deal with the evaluation of projects, there is one thing that is the cash flow of the project, that is for the investor, but there is another cash flow for the macroeconomy, because in many islands the cost of, for instance, electricity, the cost of electricity production is higher than the price that the end user pays. So that means that if we save energy, and if we produce energy from renewables, we have, in terms of macroeconomy, we have a bigger impact. In the islands, also the electric system have to be prepared for the seasonal peaks and off-peaks, and also the daily peaks and off-peaks. And that has a problem, for instance, for renewable energies. In islands where there is no cable, we cannot produce too much energy during the night when the energy consumption is low, because no one is consuming, and it's very difficult to storage the electricity. The islands are very specific energy systems, and I want to emphasize that. And we have to deal with energy planning in islands in a very specific way. And within the islands we have the big islands and the small islands, and even in the islands, depending on the scale, there are many different particular things. Well, we can say that sustainable energy, that is the objective of this Pact of Islands, it's a major key factor for island sustainability, because it interacts with other activities, with tourism. If we have a blackout, and if we have a bad blackout, that means if a cable is damaged or the power plant has a big problem, well, it could spend some time to have it repaired, because there is no redundant systems. Well, we have talked already about the objectives of the energy planning in the Pact of Islands. So to improve the knowledge of the energy in use and demand, but also on the energy supply, because, as I said, this is critical for islands. It is important within this framework to aware the decision makers, and also to develop criteria, internal criteria for discussion, and also to prepare some tools to help this decision making. Also, one objective is to establish regional and local sustainable energy policies, and to implement the sustainable energy actions. And well, we can summarize all these objectives with one, that is to reduce the CO2 emissions by more than 20% until 2020, mainly by improving the energy efficiency and to increase the participation of renewable energies. Well, I don't want to extend too much, but just a little overview of the work that we have done. So, to prepare the work, this was the beginning of the project. We have the constitution of local advisory committees. This is involving the stakeholders, the decision makers. Well, we try to get all together and to discuss about the energy policy and about the actions. And also we have developed in this project, Isle Park project, we have developed also some modeling tools to make the energy balance of the island. Well, when we make an energy balance, we have an idea about the end use, who is using the energy, but also from where the energy is coming, from oil, from renewables. So it is important to know that, to have a better picture of the energy system, and to have the better actions to implement. And of course, we prepared some templates to help data collection, to help the process of energy planning, and also to have a common approach in the reporting of the DCAPs. And also we have discussed about what will be the baseline year. Well, this was the preparation of the work. And I have a slide here about energy modeling. Well, it is not necessary to have a powerful software, because the energy modeling is not to predict by itself the energy consumption, but to help to make the scenarios and to formulate the scenarios, and after I have a trend or business as usual scenario, I can put the actions in the tool and see what is the effect. And having this evaluation, we can compare and to see which actions are better for our objective. And I will say that sometimes we have some surprises, even when we are experienced on energy planning, we have some surprises. For instance, comparing renewable energies and energy efficiency, when we are talking with renewables, the cash flow for the promoter or for the investor is clear, is high. But when we are talking about energy efficiency, it's not so clear. But in terms of macroeconomy, because the energy efficiency have more labor, generate more taxes, more income, taxes income, So I can say that energy efficiency for the macroeconomy of the island is much better than the renewable energies. But of course, the investor looks for his cash flow. Another problem that makes this, one reason for that, is the prices of energy. If we have a cost of production of electricity that is higher than the price for the end user and the price that is paid to the producer of wind or solar energy, so this causes a distortion. But in the macroeconomy, all these aspects are eliminated, so we can see the real picture. Well, what we have done in the group, we prepared a tool, but some of the partners have already their own tool, so they used the tool they have already because they were experienced on that. And that make possible also to exchange some experiences and compare the outputs. Well, the main things for these tools is that they deal with the final energy demand, with the secondary, that is the production, secondary energy production, that is electricity or heat or cold. Cold is not usual. And after that, we can calculate the primary energy, that is the energy coming into the island. When we are dealing with the city, primary energy is not relevant. But when we are dealing with an island, it's relevant because it's what we are importing. It's the energy that is coming into the island or the energy that we are catching from the environment, from the wind or from the sun or from the biomass. And of course, this model has to have CO2 calculation because it's the objective that we have to monitor. Well, for the energy planning process, we can say that it's important to have, I have here 4 steps that were the steps that we have followed. That first is to collect data. If we don't know what we have, we cannot get, we can have some actions, but perhaps we don't have the best package of actions. And it's important to have this to see what is which are the priorities, which are the stakeholders that we should call to implement the actions. Well, a second step is to establish a trend scenarios, to know from the evolution we had in the last years and the evolution that we expect in the future, what is the business as usual scenario. This is important because we should know where we will be in 2020 if we don't do nothing. And when we put a scenario that is the hypothesis of actions, we will put the actions, so we will create new alternative scenarios. And we can compare what will be the effect. So our objective is to reduce the CO2 comparing with a baseline year. But when we are doing this, we will see if we have the business as usual scenario, we will get, if you are growing, we will get one amount of energy that will be spent. And if we have well, the actions, we will reduce this for a certain amount. And I will say that, for instance, in Madeira, that the energy consumption was growing in the last 20 years. What we expect when we have a reduction of 20% comparing with 2005, this means that is a reduction of almost 40% comparing what we expect to have in 2020. So it's important to have that. And of course, after that, it's necessary to evaluate, to analyze the results and to choose which actions are best, which actions need less investment or less public investment and best results, because we have to call also the private to invest on these actions. Concerning the actions, just to have an idea, the actions, this is very similar to Covenant of Mayors, because we have to have a compatible methodology. And the first is description of the action, of course. Who is responsible for the implementation? What is the schedule? The cost, estimated cost. The energy savings that are expected for each action, or the renewable energy production. And of course, the reduction of CO2. And in the process of making these sustainable energy actions, it's important to have the participation of stakeholders, because they will implement the actions. So they have to have a word before we approve that. And it's necessary also to have mechanisms for monitoring and to evaluate the results. And now about the results. Well, these have been already presented. So we have today 65. Well, yesterday we had 62, but today we have 3 more signatures of the Pact of Islands. And in the project, Isle Pact project, we have foreseen at the beginning to have 20 plans, 20 IZAPs. And during the project will be completed 57. And until yesterday we had 52, but today we receive, and the 5 that are missing are Malta, 5 IZAPs. And today we received the IZAP from Malta, but we have to check and to validate before we accept as finished. Well, I can say that this is a process, an evolutionary process, because today we have 3 more signatures, but in the near future we expect to have more. Well, I have here a list. It's not to look in detail, but only to show which were the results we got for every island. And you can see that some islands, some small islands, didn't achieve the objective of 20%, because this 20% is compared with 2005. And even if they have, I don't know this case of Aegina, but it's a very small island, even if they have a reduction of 20% comparing with what they will get in 2020 if they don't have any actions. Of course, if they are growing the energy consumption, they cannot decrease. It's very difficult to decrease, so they decrease 20%, but of course they cannot reach the level of 2020. But there are others that are much higher than 20. Some are higher than 100%. The case of Samsung here, that is 177%. That means that they have a cable. This is possible only if you have a cable. They have an electric cable, and they are exporting energy. So they will contribute to have a positive, well, I would say negative balance of CO2 production. So they will contribute to reduce the CO2 in other territories, because if they are exporting zero emission energy, they will contribute to reduce somewhere that amount of CO2. Well, at global, we got for these 52 islands that are listed here, in average we got 25% of reduction. The objective was 20, so we got the plan, this is the expected, 25%. And as have been presented before, comparing this with some other figures, because the islands are small, but when they are together, well, it represents a lot. Comparing with the EU is 0.4%. Comparing with Germany, that is a big country and with a lot of energy consumption, represent 2%. And comparing with Portugal, 26%, and with Denmark, the 30%. So the effort in the ICAPs that we have here, if we were successful and we get the objectives we have, we will get the equivalent of the actual 30% of the actual emissions of Denmark. Of course, this is what we expect, because there are some critical factors in the implementation of ECAPs. Well, I can say that the first is regulatory. It depends on the European, national, and local regulations. I think that the regulations that are in place are coming to have more energy efficiency and more renewable energies and less emissions of carbon dioxide. But there is another critical factor that are the national and local changes in government. Because we have elections every 4 years or 5 years, and we don't know what comes next, and perhaps they could have other priorities. So this is a risk, but we have to deal with that and to try that in the technical aspect we can show that this is important for the sustainable development of the islands, and probably and for sure I would say they will accept that they have to continue a work that have been started. Another problem, and in some countries like in Portugal and other that are facing some financing constraints, this is a big issue at the moment. But this plan is for until 2020, and we hope that in 2 years or something like that, well, we have something new on the economy and to make this to overtake. But here it is important to have the support of European programs, of national and local incentives to make the private to invest on energy efficiency and renewable energies. This is very important, and we have to think how we can make these ICAPs feasible, helping in this aspect. Another thing is also critical, that is the organizational factor. Of course, this depends. If we want to know if the ICAPs are being implemented, it's necessary to make the monitoring and to have the evaluation of the plans. And this will depend a lot on what is next in after Isle Pact project, what is next in Pact of Islands management. This is important to evaluate the results of the ICAPs that have been done, but also to call for new adhesions and new signatories. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Filipe.